When I wrote Fearless, through the whole process of writing Fearless, which started in 2018 when I was a columnist for The Edge magazine, I knew that there was something coming, that there was a time coming where the world would need my words. And me being a part of that world too. Like, I would need my words. I would need to figure out a way to take all of this experience that I'd had, which it was becoming very clear to me that my experience was not an accident. Like, all these things that I've been through in my life are so perfectly choreographed. Like, the worst things, the best things, the things that have taught me this skill, this skill, this skill, this skill are all perfectly choreographed to be able to build this work. And not just this work, but also my songs. Like, I have a song called Choose that is literally for this time. I have Between, the album that I made to help us regulate our nervous systems when we're in that threshold between the death of something old and the birth of something new. Like, all of this work has been for being here, being alive, being present in this time and showing up for that. So I knew when I was writing that something was coming, but I had no idea that it would be this. I had no idea what we would actually be going through as a collective at the time that my book would come out, which is February 9th. And it turns out that right now, which is late January, we're going through a lot, not just here in Minnesota, but collectively across the entire planet. We are going through so much. And we there's a concept that actually comes from anthroposophy that I find really helpful. And it's like when you teach a child about something that's going on in the world and it's like, oh my God, that is just so big. What you do next is you give them something to do with their hands. Because if you can take these concepts that are so big and so overwhelming, and you can remember that you can actually create something tangible with your own hands, that helps ground that concept into your own body and your own soul so that it becomes your own work. And you realize in the process of doing that, what it actually is that you can do to create an impact. So it's not just like, oh my God, that's out there. Maybe it's affecting me super directly, maybe it's not, maybe it's affecting somebody next to me, but regardless, it feels like it's so big and so out there that I can't really do anything about it. That's not the way that we want kids to feel, and that's not the way that I want you to feel. I want you to feel like you came here on purpose at this time for a reason to be able to make an impact in what's going on. I want you to feel that you are a part of how we birth this new world, that you are not only the midwife, not only the one that's holding the process, but also the laboring person, also the birthing person, that this is actually coming through you. And then what I wanted to do with my words through this piece of writing is to give you something tangible that you can hold in your hands that is a companion for this work, that you can take with you for the rest of your life as we continue to live in this time of transition. And it can be something that feels like there's somebody there with you. Like, there's a version of you that is able to hold your hand through holding this work. Because I want you to hear your voice in these words. That's the same thing that I did with my album Between. I said the things that I needed to hear, and I sang the things that I needed to hear, so that I could have this way of accessing this higher voice, this higher or deeper version of self when I was going through things that were really challenging, where maybe that wasn't the voice that was speaking the loudest to me. And in this time right now, we have a lot of voices that are speaking within us. There are a lot of parts of us that are rising to the surface that are like, I have something to say. I have a story to tell. Remember that time that this was kind of like this? Remember everything that our lineage has gone through? Remember, it all comes up. It all comes up, and there's so much to process. And so we need to have a framework for that. We need to have something that says, okay, let's distill this. Let's give a space for every single one of those voices to speak. Let's give the stage to each one of those voices. And let's also hold that from this larger perspective of self that can actually bring the love and bring the acceptance and bring the awareness as the listener of these stories, so that the writer of the stories, each of those voices, can transform the way that they tell each of those stories. Because it's not the stories that are a problem, it's how we're carrying them. If we're carrying our stories in a way that makes us feel like we're so heavy that we can't take action, that we can't be inspired, that we can't do anything in our lives, that we can't create and feel and be our own joy and love and happiness in our own lives, then that's a problem. So we can change the way that we hold our stories. We can change the way that we feel our impact. We can change the way that we're participating in life. And we can change the way that our inner voice is creating our lives. So this book, the reason that this book exists is because I need you to learn how to make your inner voice into your most powerful creative ally. So that that version of you that is speaking your world into existence is actually speaking the world into existence that you want to live in, that we want to create collectively. Because we're going through a big process right now of this collective ego death, of letting all these former versions of ourselves die. And that's really big grief work. And when you're doing grief work, you need a hand to hold. When you're doing grief work, it's better to do that in connection, in togetherness, in community. And so we're building that through this piece, through this work right here. It's small. It's like about the same size as the book, The Four Agreements, if you're familiar with that. And it's powerful. And every word that is in this book holds a frequency. It holds energy that is meant to be delivered through me and to you, so that it can then again come through you, so that you can amplify the message of this work through you being yourself in the most authentic way that you can be. Through this work, we learn how to hold juxtapositions. We do the work of expanding our capacity so that we can hold all those different voices, so that we can hold emotions that feel like they're opposites, so that we can hold our ideas and other people's ideas with this ultimate, loving, compassionate acceptance. Because acceptance doesn't mean saying that we agree with something. It doesn't mean saying that something's okay. Acceptance means being honest about what actually is. And if we can meet every moment and every version of ourselves with acceptance, we can do that for the world and for other people too. And that's actually the foundational place that we need to be standing in order to make change. We can accept that this is what is and not be okay with it, and have a vision for a brighter future, and be receiving the inspired thought and the inspired action to change it. Because we receive inspired thought when our mind isn't clouded. We receive when we actually make enough space that we can have new thoughts come in, rather than just repeating the same pattern thinking in the same stories. Those stories are doing a really important job. Those stories are trying to hold our identity intact. Because our ego, or our identity, it wants to live, it wants to be alive, it doesn't want to die. It doesn't want to die so that a new version of itself can be born. I'm sure you've experienced this in your life. It's hard to let go of who you were before. It's hard to go through periods of discomfort. But we get intimate with that feeling of discomfort so that we can sign up for it willingly. We get intimate with it so that we can trust it, so that we can trust our process of becoming and growth. We get close with it so that we can let the old version of ourselves die, so that we can actually experience something different, a new future. So that's what Fearless does. That's what this book is about. And I want to invite you to order it. And I want you to not even just order it, but to order multiple copies so that you can give this to other people. And I promise you, when I say this, because it does bring up all my stuff too, of course, this whole process has been bringing up all my stuff. And I absolutely have not been fearless as I'm writing this book, but I can teach you how to connect to the aspect of yourself that is, so that you can do the scary things and the hard things. For me, telling you that I want you to buy something is scary for me. But I promise you that this is not something that I'm making a whole bunch of money off of, okay? It's not. It's not for that. It's not for that purpose. And that's just the reality of having a publishing contract with a big publisher. It just goes that way. The authors don't make a ton. But I want you to buy multiple copies of this book because I want you to put one in a little library. I want you to give one to your therapist. I want you to leave one at your kid's school. I want you to give one to your neighbor. I want you to have one on your bookshelf. I want you to put this everywhere that you possibly can so that people have a companion to do this work with, so that we don't ever have to feel like we're doing this alone, so that we have a structure and a framework and a way to move through, so that in the moments where it feels like it's all too confusing or it's all too much, we know that our intention alone is enough to hold us and carry us through, even if we don't know how. I want you to give that gift to people through this, because I'm giving this gift to you and to others through having gone through the process of creating this, and through having gone through all of the experiences that even made it possible for me to create this. Because this book is me living in my underworld and being able to bring that up, to bring it up to the light and say, I have this, I offer this to the light, I offer this to the light. How can I take this thing that I went through that was challenging, or that was traumatic, or that was awful, or that was whatever, that was hard? How can I take that and how can I alchemize it? How can I take these stories that in the past for me sounded like, oh, I'm a victim of this, and I'm a victim of this, and I've had to deal with this, and I've had to go through with this, which we all have, right? We all have real systems that are bigger than us in our life that kind of write these stories with us, that co-write these stories. We also all have the power to rewrite those stories and to say, yes, I was the victim of this circumstance, but I'm not living my life as a victim of it anymore. I'm not living my life in the mentality of victimhood, which is a totally different way to live. That's a super important distinction that we talk about. Because I want you to feel empowered to move forward, to make change, to change the systems. Because we can do that, but we have to do it together. We do this work in ourselves so that we can do it together, because every single thing that you do has a ripple effect, and it affects another person. It affects the way that other people see the world. If you go out and you tell someone something that's authentically on your heart, coming from you, springing forth from you, or you share your art, or you just share whatever it is that's you, whether that's a smile or that's letting somebody go first in line or whatever, that actually has a real impact in changing the way that other people perceive the world. It changes the way that other people perceive how the world meets them, and their worthiness, and their ability to belong to something. It all matters. So I went through experiences that I didn't have a framework for, and I met a lot of dead ends, essentially, just places that felt like, I can't do this anymore if it's going to be like this. But I had something. I had this hope that there would be a future. I had this knowing that I felt, it's like I was born with this flame. And I've always had an awareness of this flame, of this light. And I know that when we bring our lights together, because we all have this, even if you forgot that you have it, or you forgot what it looks like, we amplify that, and it gets so bright that it calls out every shadow. So we do the work collectively by remembering that light within ourselves. And for me, going through all these experiences, they've allowed me to write this. They've allowed me to come to the place where I have something to share with you. So I'm grateful for that. So for me, my story has been rewritten from victim to, yes, I was a victim of those circumstances, and I am grateful for the growth and the experiences that I've had, because I've been able to turn it into something. I've been able to alchemize all of that into gold to give to you and to share with you. Okay? So this is my book. I made this. And you can make your things too. You can make your things, you can make your impact, whatever it is that you want to do. Okay? So let's do it together. And if you would like to, if you're local, if you want to come to my book release party, I'll be having a book release party where we can gather together in community, and we can co-regulate our nervous systems, and we can dream, and we can create together on February 21st from 6 to 9, at the Art House in Minneapolis. And I would really, really love, if you feel called, to have you there, because I want to know what happens when we get together in community in this time around something like this, because that's really, really powerful energy to be bringing into a group space. Okay, that's all I have for you right now. Sending you and meeting you with so much love.